So thanks, Jacek, for introducing the conference. My name is Stephen Brobst. I'm CTO at Teradata, and I'm coordinating the track for real-time. And this is an interesting area because in discovery, whether it's scientific discovery or commercial discovery, historically, we didn't really care so much about real time because with discovery, it was a matter of getting the data and doing analysis and looking at long-term trends and so on, seeing all the detail. And that's changed a lot as we move from kind of discovery to action taking, right? Because when you start getting into the action taking part, it gets a lot more interesting when you're doing it in real time or near real time. Now, I'll tell you that I personally hate this term real time when associated with analytics because most people don't actually mean it, right? When I'm an engineer by training, so if someone says real time to me, I want to get out oscilloscopes and measure nanoseconds, and that's probably not what most people mean when they talk about real time. And so a better term is, right time or near real time or however you want to say those things. There's a Gartner report that describes real time as anything that you do more than once per hour. I'm not sure that I agree with that exactly as real time, but people have their different definitions. I remember when Gartner published this report that within 18 months, all production or 90% of production data warehouses will be loaded multiple times per day, and 50% will be loaded in real time, by which they meant multiple times per hour, right? This was actually quite some time ago when they published this report, but it caused, quite a bit of stir in the whole data integration business because all of the ETL vendors like Informatica and IBM DataStage and, Ab Initio and those guys, historically, they focus more on batch file processing. And then, all these companies that had invested gazillions of dollars sort of transforming, all this hand-coded ETL to these metadata-driven tools were now being told that those tools were obsolete. And they had to move to, streaming and be able to sort of process the data in real time and so on. I think that, the successful ones among those crowds of tools have sort of made the transformation. There were certainly some of those tools that dropped out because they couldn't make that transformation. But I think that, whether we're talking about scientific computing or whether talking about commercial computing, real time is definitely sort of a reality of how we sort of need to sort of get the data in order to create the full value. As Jacek mentioned in the introduction, one of the reasons that I make a point of coming to this conference is because it's very different than the traditional Data Warehousing Institute and Gartner conferences, the kind of commercial conferences that I end up going to typically, or in the scientific world, the similar types of conferences, because there really is a lot of diversity in the people that participate in this conference, and I think that sort of creates a lot of energy and exchange of good ideas. In this track of real time, tried to be true to that theme and get people from across sort of multiple parts of the domain, the data domain. Our first speakers are going to be from LinkedIn. LinkedIn is sort of well known for its contribution in the open source as well as the ideas in the commercial world, contributing Kafka and lots of other good stuff into the domain. And I'll introduce those speakers a little bit later. We also have from the scientific domain, from Nersk, Brobst's going to talk about some things going on there and the real-time analytics that are happening in a really pure scientific domain. Then to go even broader in diversity, Greg is going to talk about real-time as it relates to blockchain, which is, most people know blockchain from Bitcoin. That's not really the main focus of this talk, but blockchain is a much broader concept than just Bitcoin. He's a co-founder of a startup from New York City that focuses in this domain. So I think we're going to get a lot of interesting sort of discussion going on. And after we have the speakers contribute each of their talks. I want to open it up for the audience to sort of have an open sort of Q&A on any of the topics. All is fair game. I'll defend the speakers if it gets too unfair, but all questions are fair game. Again, these are technical folks, so detailed questions are encouraged. So with that, I'm going to introduce our first speakers. So did you get mic'd up? Did you give them mics? Yeah, they're good. Why don't you give them the first one? Yeah, okay. We'll have two speakers from LinkedIn. They're going to do a tag team, and we're going to talk about the capabilities that have been developed at LinkedIn in the area of real time and sort of how that's sort of impacted their business. So I'll sort of welcome our two speakers up here. So thank you very much for LinkedIn for participating.